Vulkite weaponry. The comms officer steps back from his station and his blank face lurches in my direction. Your request is processed. According to records, the formation before us is only 2 standard Terran decades old. I nod curtly and return to watching the screens. Their deployment is typical for Astartes. My suspicions confirmed, my hopes answered. They have no idea who they are messing with. And now, a brief word from the sponsors of this video. 1 minute 20 seconds. Let's do it. The Internet. The sum of all human knowledge. The ability to connect to anyone, anywhere, and share your thoughts. Also one of the most dangerous places to be if you prize your privacy. With one misthought click, your computer is open to them. Your bank details, your codes, your history, your games, your entire life. Hackers. They're cunning, and they are everywhere. But there is something you can do to protect yourself. SurfShark VPN. That's a virtual private network. Download SurfShark and secure yourself online. But not just on your PC or laptop. It can be used on all of your devices, so public Wi-Fi need not be a concern anymore. You can also view things from other regions, like Netflix, just by changing your settings. Hit the links in the description and get SurfShark VPN using promo code BALDEMORT for 83% off and 3 extra months for free. If you do this today, you will also get antivirus protection in real time for free for over 27 months, protecting you and your loved ones from all forms of cybernetic horror. So hit the links in the description and put up your SurfShark shields right now. I could never get used to it, despite the horrifying casualty reports. Despite the forces drawn away from us to the front, despite the proof of my very eyes from the vids. We were fighting each other. On the verge of doing it, a footstep only from dominating the entire galaxy. Total victory within our grasp. It had happened. Damn them. The Marines broke into civil war. Their Primarchs turned rebel. Not all, obviously, or we'd already be dead. But half of them. Half. And the worst of it, it was Horus. Their leader, the most decorated general of the Crusade, the right hand of the Emperor himself, where Malcador was his left. Horus was his shield, his greatest son, his war master. Yet he turned. He went mad. And now, he had us all on the back foot. The merest idea of it. I couldn't get to grips with it. I'd be fighting against Astartes, the Emperor's angels of death. And truth be told, secretly, deep down, I was glad. That happened later. At first, I was so shocked it didn't process. How? How could any turn from the dream of the Imperium, the salvation of their own race? Later, when it sunk in a little, there was denial, then anger, then resignation, of course. Navy had taken an absolute kicking. They weren't used to fighting Astartes' fleets, and it went badly. Because they, the enemy, they seemed to have so many more Marines than we did. Of course, this was due to Istvan. 3 legions, and not just anyone, the Iron Hands, taken out. If anyone could have stiffened a line against the impossible, it was the Iron Hands. And they were gone. Ferrus was the Emperor's hammer, and he was just gone. along with the Raven Guard and the Salamanders. And on they came from there. I still couldn't believe it most days. I've mourned, I've raged, I've accepted. But the shock has been so profound. And when we were told, I instantly knew it. I knew it to my core. Like when you fall in love or stare at your firstborn child. You know. And I knew something as deeply, as unshakably. No magic or mysticism involved, no. I knew it was inevitable. We would face Astartes, my unit, my world. And I decided then I would be ready. At my rank, I've been rejuvenated. I was there early in the Crusade. Not at its start, of course. That was centuries ago, more than I've lasted. But early enough. My unit was mine. We'd inherited it out of an old debt well paid. An act of heroism enriched in ennoblement. But it also meant my little army was armed, as it was then. For like many in the auxiliary regiments, we'd been placed on guard duty, given this as my family's fief, our army's zone. We were left behind to hold the place, the entire area. And we did. We put down 2 uprisings in our immediate region. But it had been quiet, really. So I had taken over from my father and learned from him. Learned everything I could. And I then went on to study. But not only arms, military doctrines and logistics. I studied reports. And I tried to keep track of things through my links in the Adeptus Administratum. The remembrances. Ha! I followed them religiously. That urge was beaten out of me for a time by my tutors. Then I eventually gained a tour of active duty. A decade. Witnessing them. I never dreamed of anything but their success. They were the paragons of humanity. But deep down, when I came back from my tour, I then trained and drilled my men remorselessly. I reformed them to their old lines and orders of battle, from when we took this world into compliance alongside the Marines, my father. I fooled myself that I was worried that anything that could skip past the Crusade may be worse than our Astartes. And we, right here, would have to hold them. We normal men and women. We mere mortals. So I gained the best support I could. I lavished gifts on the local forge world, gained ties. I did not ask for more equipment. In fact, I asked for nothing at all. Merely the maintenance of that which was already present, of course. And I gained it. And now, it will pay off. Because that is a new formation, the one coming towards us, and they have no idea what we've got. How could they? The modern armies and levies are gifted bolters, or even las weaponry. But we have that which started the Crusade, because we are one of the original formations from Terra, our roots in the very unification wars. And those Astartes, those fresh-faced, violent traitor Marines that will assail us within an hour, they are in for a shock, because I am ready, and I know what they will do. Continued after the law. Welcome, gentle listener. I am Voldemort, your faithful servant, and I wish to introduce you to the forces, factions, and war gear of the 30K universe and the Horus Heresy, where the age of knowledge and enlightenment has ended, and the age of darkness has begun. And today, as a rare return to War Gear Wednesday, let us discuss a weapon that I have only recently come to adore. Not quite as nice as my favorite, Melty Melty, but they do scratch a certain itch for me. Of course, I can only be speaking of Vulkite weapons. Now there is not a great deal on these weapons, so the quote will be short, I am afraid. And so, as usual, let us lean on existing wisdom. To quote, Vulkite weapons. Vulkite weapons is an arcane term used by the Adeptus Mechanicus to refer to a class of powerful thermal ray guns whose technology is pre-imperial in origin and dates back to the Age of Technology, or the Age of Strife. These weapons possess considerable killing power, surpassing most other armaments of their size. Blasts from Vulkite weapons were even known to be able to penetrate the thick ceramite plates of Space Marine power armor with one concentrated shot. Vulkite weapons produce a deflagration attack, in which subsonic combustion, caused by a beam of thermal energy propagated through a target material by thermodynamic heat transfers, so that hot burning material heated the next layer of cold material and ignited it. A Vulkite weapon's heat ray had a devastating effect on organic matter, explosively burning flesh into ash and jetting fire. Unfortunately, Vulkite weapons of the various types were difficult to manufacture, even for the most able of the ancient Mechanicum's forges, and the demands of the expanding Great Crusade in the later 30th millennium swiftly overwhelmed the supply of these relic weapons. Once relatively common within the fledgling Space Marine legions and the military forces of the pre-heresy Mechanicum, Vulkite weapons had fallen largely from favor by the time of the Horus Heresy, in the early 31st millennium, and had been superseded by the far more flexible and utilitarian Terran Bolter. Those few examples of Vulkite weapons that remain in service were the purview of only a few specialized units at the outbreak of the conflict that tore the Imperium apart in a galactic-spanning civil war. Vulkite weapons in the present time are exceedingly rare, and are scarcely even seen amongst the chapters of the Adeptus Astartes in the 41st millennium. These rare thermal weapons were also once the standard armament of a significant number of solar auxiliary infantry regiments of the Imperial Army, becoming increasingly scarce as the Great Crusade wore on, and by the Horus Heresy became the preserve of only the most elite of their Velataris units. To carry such a weapon became a thing of great distinction in the ranks of the Solar Auxilia, the weapons themselves passing from soldier to soldier as time went on as an indicator of elite status. Known classes of weapon: Vulkite Serpenter, Blaster, Charger, Caliver, Culverin, Carronade, Cheraville, if I pronounced it correct, Demi-Culverin, Sentinel, Incinerator, and Falconet. End quote. Now I hope you can tell immediately why this is a new favourite weapon for me. It is subtly different from the Melter, Melty, for the Melter relies on generating a plasma field for its intense heat energies, but on a submolecular level. Now the Vulkite is a strange thing for me, as in one weapon, it sort of bridges the playing field of many a genre in sci-fi, for it is a directed energy weapon, like the handheld weaponry of so many contemporary settings. And when I see one and read its rules, I cannot help but think of the burnt, charred corpses of Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru. Shocking in its time for such a young chap, such a young audience, so striking merry to be sure. So the beam weapons of the early Crusade were soon left in the dust due to logistics, but it was mostly that, for the Vulkite weapon is a thing of terror, and they are now returning to the galaxy of 40K as well, in the form of the Primaris Neo-Vulkite weapons. Call seems, yet again, to have improved on that which the greatest minds at the height of the Crusade could not. Isn't he talented? I have been Voldemort, your faithful servant. I hope you've enjoyed this brief introduction to Vulkite weaponry. If so, then do consider liking and subscribing. Links to Discord, Patreon, other channels and associated links where you can get discounts on your figures are all in the description. So go have a butcher's, or a shufti, as I say. And thank you for your precious time. Now, no matter what you do today, do try to make some time for fun. Toodaloo. And now, back to the story. We are ready. I know what they will do. The void shields ripple as they fire distraction bombardment, limiting our vision. Our gun emplacements are not large enough to hit them at this range, nor do we have line of sight. The lines of trenches, traps, mines, razor wire and pop-up emplacements are formidable around our city. But our defences are utterly circumvented, as we feel the ground beneath us shake and shiver. As expected. They did not assault by drop pod, due to our shields and firing arrays, so they landed, and I instantly knew. I've read my Principia Bellicosa, seen them do it. I had hoped that they would underestimate us, for we are of the pedigree of the Solar Auxilia. We are men of war, of the Great Crusade. It runs in our veins. But did they know that? Clearly not. Their termite carriers break through the marble of libraries, through the rockcrete of our main thoroughfares. They dug from below and rise up. Before their gates open, they cover the area in a gas. By its hue, it contains something very nasty. Something that would have utterly neutralized all normal Imperial army these days, for yards. So when their hatches open and they begin to come out, they are altogether wrong-footed when they are met with immediate counterfire. From high vantage points not brought down in the rubble, from men all around them. I deployed them, you see. Small fire teams in hundreds of rooms near crossroads, facilities, and anywhere of strategic importance. Shock 1 for the Astartes. We're still here. And this is due to our armor. Contained suits are what we have. Heads, masks, full air. Helm systems not too far off Marines. So the gas does nothing. My boys attacked them with gusto. Now these are still Astartes, and they slaughter many of my men. They mob out into the streets, but many can fire from where they are, in deep, nice shade. Shock 2 for the Astartes. It seems these green troops, Marine or no, have not experienced this before. The Marines are dying. Their warplate, their power armor, is not being hit by bolters or lasfire, but Vulkite weaponry. Old weaponry, our weaponry. Each Astartes either bursts into flames or avoids dying to one shot as another, then another hit them. The Marines are dying. They react poorly, but logically. They stop coming out of the termites so quickly. They roll and leap and gain cover where they can, and they are good at it. So they are slowly coming out. Surprise 3 for the Astartes. I order the heaviest weapons fired down on the termites, in unison. Their beams strike them and begin to blister and cook the metal. Not slagging it as fast as a melter, of course, but the fire from the riflemen, the culverins, adds to this. And soon the Marines have no choice but to charge out in thick, lovely, target-rich environments, as the transports cook them if they do not. My men are gutted and sorted wherever the means have gotten amongst them, but this is why we have small fire teams. As one is annihilated, it just opens up the Astartes to crossfires. And they die. Heated metal, burning flames and smoke trains coming from cracked eyepieces, the corpse inside their armor charring. The termites are gone, slumped back into their burrows as liquids and chunks, whatever inside now crisped. The Astartes are now being hunted, room to room, but we have done it. One whole chapter of them gone. They will try again. Next will be a frontal assault. But today, I feel we may just even win this war.